Hi, welcome to the podcast by Dr. Sushma Singh. Let us start conversation on Unit 9 Education and Social Change. The relationship of education with social change is not a simple, unilateral one, as perhaps many would like to believe, for education is not only instrumental in bringing about social change. It is also quite interestingly instrumental in maintaining the status quo. In other words, education plays both a conservative and radical role. That is, it helps both in maintaining and changing different aspects of social system. Social scientists have held diverse positions on the relationship between education and social change. There are some who treat education as the most important ideological state apparatus appropriated by the ruling classes to pursue their own ideas and interests. They maintain that education is an instrument forged by the ruling classes to serve and preserve their own interests and largely to maintain the status quo in the existing economic and political power structure. At the other end are many social scientists, politicians, educationists, and educational planners who consider education as an important instrument of social change, particularly in the context of third world countries. Here, education is treated as affecting economic development and social change. In post revolutionary Russia, for example, schools were assigned the task of destroying old bourgeoisie values and creating new values appropriate to the socialist society. We have seen that the educational system is responsible for encouraging innovation in the material and technological spheres. This may involve training the labor force in these skills, challenging traditional attitudes, or promoting social mobility and allowing new elites to threaten and replace those before them. Some of these expectations are to a large extent contradictory. The radical and innovation functions of education are hard to reconcile with its role in the transmission of culture. Also, schools and universities are themselves a part of society subject to pressures from other parts of the social system. In a highly stratified society, for example, it is unrealistic to expect schools to inculcate strongly egalitarian principles. They are likely to function in these societies as important agencies within the stratification system, training the young for adult roles. Only where egalitarianism is accepted as part of the dominant value system of a society is it likely either to influence the organization of education or to be part of the moral and social training imparted at school. Developments in the education system are largely also influenced considerably by economic and technological factors. Education, in turn, may also influence social and economic change as a consequence of the role it plays in the processes of discovery and dissemination of newly acquired knowledge. In this unit, we will focus on an analysis of education in the context of social change. But before doing that, we will examine the concept and meaning of social change and factors that are instrumental in causing it. We will also discuss the goals and structural pattern of the formal education system. Now let us move to the next point, the concept of social change. Social change has been defined by the sociologist Wilbert Murray as a significant alteration over the time in behavioral pattern and culture, including norms and values. It is important to understand how the rate and nature of change brings about alteration in society. A simpler society change is usually slow. Tradition, rituals, rites of passage, and social hierarchies, these are some of the basic elements that have held such societies together. These elements weaken in the event of cultural contact and disasters such as wars, disease, and famine. Terms such as progress, evolution, process, and so forth are often used when understanding the concept of social change. R.M. McKeever and C.H. Page have discussed and distinguished between these terms. The word process implies the idea of continuity. All that is meant by process is the definite step-by-step manner through which one state or stage merges into the another. Nothing is said here about the quality of the process. It is simply a way of describing how things happen in society, and also the way in which people adapt to certain elements in their society, or are assimilated to certain form of activity, or adjust themselves to specific modes of behavior. The term evolution implies a scientific concept of development and change, an unrolling or unfolding, a movement in some particular direction. McLever and Page consider that societies may be classified as more or less evolved according to the complexity of their differentiation. More evolved simply implies a greater complexity and differentiation within the society. But again, evolution is not merely a quantitative process. For McLever and Page, whenever in the history of society we find an increasing specialization of organs or units within the system or serving the life of the whole, we can speak of social evolution. The words progress and process are frequently used in popular discussion in interchangeable words. But in the context of social change, at least progress involves judgment, whereas the process is simply descriptive of continuity. Value, judgment are relative, and what may constitute social progress for one may represent retrogression, decay, or stagnation for another. It all depends on the sort of ideal one has of society itself and the goal at which one is aiming. W.J.H. Sprott represents a clear and simplified scheme of social change within a very narrow spectrum. According to him, there is firstly extraneous change which is caused by agencies external to society itself. Such factors as invasion, colonization, settlement, culture, contact, and disease are highly unpredictable and capable of affecting social disequilibrium and change. Secondly, there is endangerous change which occurs from within the society. Sprott divides endogenous change into two main types according to their degree of predictability. There is episodic change which is brought about within a society by some event which could not have been predicted from one's personal knowledge of the state of our society. This applies particularly within the realm of inventions which may have devastating effects upon the whole fabric and lifestyle of society. In fact, the invention of itself, for example, radar, atomic energy, laser beams, is neutral. It is the use to which one puts an invention that decide whether society will progress or retrogress, but it will certainly change. There is, however, also patterned change within the society which permits a more precise prediction. Such prediction is of short term nature and it depends upon the increase in a society of mutual concern, planning, rationality, and an organized program of social welfare as well as political and economic consensus. Most of what has been said here can be reduced to a consideration of change under three main types of factors or conditions: physical and biological, technological, and cultural. A consideration of physical and biological factor involves such problems as the changing size and average age of a population, the varying balance between death and births, and the variation in the race, color, and culture in the differing elements of population. Geographical factor, environment, habitats, and ecological modifications may also affect society in terms of the occupations people pursue. Technological factors may mean the vast improvement in mechanical devices, in fertilizers and seeds, and in the acceptance of the importance of management, economic, accountancy, and genetics, not as extra or sidelines but as instinct dimension of agriculture itself. Other technical advances have included the development of physical transportation by means of rail, aeroplane, and automobile, and discovery and harnessing of atomic energy. Here we wind up this conversation, and thank you so much for choosing this podcast.